As a sex therapist, a concept that I would like to challenge is the idea of low desire or low libido. Many people present to sex therapy with this idea of low desire as a primary presenting issue. However, my frustration with the idea of low desire is that it often misguides or misrepresents what is truly going on underneath, which could be a range of different factors. The term low libido can actually be a distraction, and one that I would also challenge because in many of the cases that I work with, low desire is not actually the issue that's going on. Now, one of the reasons why this idea of low desire is so common is because in our society, we often have a very rigid, narrow idea of what desire is. And out of this rigid understanding of desire comes unrealistic expectations. This rigid idea of desire fuels a lot of unhelpful myths around the experience of desire. And so often when people talk about their experience of low desire, they're talking about an unrealistic standard or one type of desire that doesn't actually fit their own experience of how they experience desire. And so the issue isn't necessarily low desire, it's that actually the form or the type of desire that I experience is different to the idea that society presents to us as the main idea of what desire looks like or how desire should be experienced. So what might be some of the other underlying factors? One, it could be around the sexual intimacy that is being presented to you is not worth wanting. It's not an experience that is particularly enjoyable or pleasurable. Maybe there's your own stresses or anxieties or fears, discomfort that get in the way of that sexual experience and therefore isn't something to want or desire. The other thing is the relationship context. So perhaps if there is low overall emotional connection, maybe there's a lack of other forms of physical connection, there's emotional discord, there's conflict, there's ongoing tension. These factors can all bleed into the experience of sexual intimacy and again, put a dampener on desire. So in that context, desire isn't the issue. Again, it's more so about the relationship difficulties that then have that flow-on effect to your experience of sexual intimacy. Another factor to think about is that desire generally requires energy. The experience of desire is one of wanting and excitement. However, if there are ongoing stresses in your life that deplete the energy that you have, it can then be challenging or difficult to muster up that sense of wanting or excitement, which requires energy that in this circumstance you don't have. So going back to my initial point, this fixed, rigid idea of desire in our society is one where desire is experienced as spontaneous. And don't get me wrong, plenty of people do experience spontaneous desire, where you might be on a drive somewhere and you just randomly start to think about, ooh, sex with my partner would be really nice right now. Or maybe you're in the kitchen cooking breakfast, and as you're cooking breakfast, you think, ooh, yeah, I'm feeling bit turned on at the moment. Be great to have some sex right now. That's the concept of spontaneous desire. So when spontaneous desire is the only type of desire that is emphasized, we take on a belief that desire is just like this on switch and it just should happen, it should be there, it should be easily accessible. What is wrong with me if I don't experience desire in my daily life, normally, randomly, just on like a switch in this moment? But for many other people, their experience, especially when you get into a long-term relationship, this is a pattern that can occur, is that desire is responsive. So desire emerges in response to a specific context, a specific situation, and these contexts are around emotional connection, relational intimacy, feeling that you are appreciated, admired, that there is affection towards you. Responsive desire also tends to occur towards that everyday physical intimacy. And if you want to learn more around this topic of physical intimacy, touch, see my video, 5 Gears of Touch, as a way to intentionally foster other types of enjoyable touch in your relationship, to which responsive desire is able to emerge. So there are times where I do work with clients, and what we are looking at is perhaps truly this experience of low desire. An example of this is if your form of desire tends to be this idea of responsive desire, and you're looking at your relationship and you're thinking, wow, we've got a healthy relationship, we're deeply connected, we enjoy each other, I feel like there's affection, I would like to be having sexual intimacy with this person, but we're, trying what we can. There is plentiful space and cultivation of opportunity for sexual connection, and they're touching me in ways that I would usually enjoy, and for whatever reason, even when all of these other things are functioning well, they're connected, they're healthy, and yet I still am not able to experience responsive desire. That is when I would consider, okay, perhaps here is some low desire. If your normal form of desire is spontaneous desire, and that has been your major experience of, you tend to be that person that just randomly thinks about sex and has sexual fantasies and thoughts in the moment. If that's your normal experience of sexual desire, and you see a dramatic decrease in that experience of spontaneous desire, and you've also explored the idea of responsive desire but haven't been able to tap into that or cultivate that, then perhaps I would also consider, okay, what's going on here that you are experiencing this idea of low desire? However, that is again where, for the majority of clients who seek sex therapy for this concept of low desire, in a lot of cases, that's where the first thing that we need to do is explore, is there another issue at play here? Because if we only focus on this presenting issue of low desire, it's like we're only dealing with the symptoms, or as a metaphor, the leaves of a tree, rather than looking underneath the surface and dealing with the roots. It is only when we can address the roots, the true issues that are going on underneath, that we can then see a difference in that experience of desire. If you're finding yourself stressed out, distressed about your experience of desire and the dynamics that are happening within your relationship surrounding that, or the impacts that you are seeing on your sexual intimacy and your relationship, I encourage you to do this journey alongside a sex therapist. If you are interested about doing that journey of sex therapy as a couple with me, that is where I offer online sex therapy in Australia, and you are welcome to visit my website and book a session through there.